Hi, Kings fans, and welcome back to the Frozen Crown. In this Week 8 review, we're going to take a look at a week that left us with more questions than answers here. Certainly not the start the Kings were looking for, and we're seeing some changes as a result. We'll take a look at those changes and how we did and what led to those changes. So, buckle up as we get started right away with that horrible Seattle game. Horrible from a defensive perspective and goaltending perspective, certainly. Um, we saw Quick get pulled after letting in, I believe, 5 or maybe 4 goals, and he certainly just looked okay. I don't think he necessarily played his way out of the net, but it was more so a message sent by McClellan. And I think that this game as a whole can really just be looked at the turning point in our season. I don't think we played terribly. We still got a point out of this game. I think people look at this game as, huge, upset, difficult, pill to swallow kind of thing. But, you know, the team did play enough to get a point against a good Seattle team. Scoring 8 goals, certainly there are some good things to come out of that. So I just think it's going to be a motivator. And no guy I thought looked more motivated after this game than Anze Kopitar. And he showed that in the next couple games too. I think he's starting to turn things around and look better. He's starting to look his old self. So that's certainly necessary for the Kings to have success. It kind of always seemed like he was maybe just a step behind this season and not really there. He's still getting some points here and there, but not really to his old self. Certainly not looking like a number one center in the NHL. But as a result of this game, Peterson did let in the game-winning goal, so he gets the loss. And as a result, he gets sent down to the AHL, and Kupari gets sent down to the AHL as well. Two guys who I think could end the season on the roster. Kupari, he looked good early and just hasn't really seemed to find it. I think he has been playing with some poor line mates. If you put him with Velarde and Iafallo, the normal third line wingers, I think he succeeds. But he really did not have much chemistry with guys like Aaron Anderson Dolan and Grunstrom and guys like that. He wasn't really given much to work with, and I think there are some aspects of his game he can improve on. So I'll be interested to see how Kupari does in the AHL, but more specifically interested to see how Peterson does. So far, he's 2-0, allowing only 3 goals on 50 some shots. So he's doing pretty good for himself, and I think he's a key part to the season. If we're going to have success, we need him to come back and play his game. So they get sent down, which leads to some new faces here in the game against Arizona. So we actually went down 3-1 in this game, and we ended up coming back to win it 5-3. So it's nice to see a comeback anytime you see that. Against a team like Arizona, though, it's not like you're gonna really go too crazy about a comeback against the Coyotes, right? They're not a super strong team this year, but we do need to beat this team, especially if only to keep things on the rails. If we would have lost this game after losing that Seattle game, I can't imagine how the locker room would be and kind of what the conversation would look like after that. So Kopitar stayed strong. We saw some new faces in Bjornfot and Fagemo, neither of which impressed me. I still am not impressed at all with Bjornfot's game. I don't think he's an NHL defender. Fagemo, I see the spark there. I see some opportunities. I think he is talented enough. I think I'd like to see his game get seasoned a little more in the AHL, but I think these guys coming up is just more of a message to the rest of the team than necessarily like these guys earned their spot and really need to be in the lineup. It's just more McClellan's looking to shake things up and looking to maybe have things mixed up and just throw something at the team that is letting them know, hey, what's going on right now is not working, so we're changing things. I would not expect to see either of these guys in the NHL for much longer. Again, we should beat Arizona. Nothing to get too hyped up about, but things did stay on the rails as opposed to getting completely out of control because you lose a game like that to Seattle. Okay, Seattle's a pretty good team right now. You lose a game to Arizona right after that Seattle game, I can only imagine. So, still good to see things are still on track. So far, just an okay week. Then going into Carolina, I don't think that them losing this game is a big surprise. I still don't think there's a real huge reason to panic right now after losing, 2 out of 3 games this week. We'll really kind of see how things are coming into for next week. That's the big one. This week sets up a huge week 9 for me. So You have a little mediocre week. You have a goaltender go down. You have some changes coming up. We need to see how those changes take effect and how the team responds to some of these struggles. So I thought that Quick had a couple of saves this game, or a couple goals he could have saved. Really, he's still seeming too out of control in the net, and really too sprawl-like, as like the default save technique is a sprawl. So he proves to me that we need Peterson. If we're going to have success this season, it's going to be on the back of Peterson and not on Quick, in my opinion. Quick can turn it up in the playoffs, and I think that playoff style of hockey maybe suits him a little more. But to get those regulation wins in the regular season and things, man, we need Peterson back. He can't come back soon enough. So he's already off to a 2-0 start with the Reign, and I would look to see him not in AHL for too long. I know there's no real timetable on it, but we need him. Good thing to see was that the second line power play still clicking. It seems like Kaliev got a bit of a promotion from how he's been doing on the power play, though understand that Kaliev, he does have that scoring touch, and he can score and he can snipe, but that is really his only dimension to his game. And to play first line minutes in the NHL, you need more than that. You need to have good forecheck. You need to have good defensive responsibility. You need to be able to play that many minutes at a high level. I'm not sure what his conditioning is like. We'll get to test that if he gets, those 16, 17, 18 minutes that first line players do. But not surprising to see the lines get shaken up anytime the team's struggling a little bit. The coach has to do this just to say that he's doing something more so than anything else. But that first line has been, shaken up many times this season. We've now seen, obviously, Kopitar is always going to center it, but we've now seen Fiala on and off of it. We've seen Velarde on and off of it, and we've seen Kaliev now on and off of it. So still looking for stability. 25 games into the season on your first line is not great to see. We need to shore that up. I think that Kempe with Kopitar is the play. I think that Fiala has shown that he can kind of bounce around and be effective wherever. So if we can get Kempe to get his game back up, I think that's a big piece to the first line. All right, so in summary here, this week is really a huge week to ask questions and lead into an intriguing week for us next week on the road trip. So I just jotted down a few of the questions I had here that we'll look to see the answer for. And I think that is, anytime you see a team with this kind of expectations start to struggle around this time of the year, before things get too out of hand, the GM may try to make some kind of decision as far as, hey, is this our coach going forward? And I just want to see if McLellan's able to motivate his team well enough to keep his job. I think that the talent is there. No one would really ever question that the talent is there on this team. But, anytime your team is underperforming, whether it's the player's fault or the coach's fault, it always seems to come down to the coaches. They're a little more easily replaced, as you can't really keep a guy on the bench who's maybe a former 30-goal scorer like Kempe. It's hard to bench a guy like that. You're paying him so much money, and you need to have guys fill the roster. So the easier switch, even though it isn't always justified, is the coaching switch. But McLellan does have to motivate these guys. Specifically, I think the younger guys, find a way to make the younger guys work. Fit them into the lineup and make them successful. We'll look to see if Quick is going to be enough while Peterson is out. So far, he had a really bad week this past week. He had a bad week the week before as well. So he's not on a good streak right now. And with Peterson out, it's not going to provide us with a safety valve if Quick's struggling. I think that Phoenix Copley does have an NHL caliber game in him. So we'll see if we lean on Copley in Peterson's absence. But definitely Quick is going to be a guy to keep an eye on this coming week. The biggest one for me out of all of these is who is our third line center? Because we tried it with Byfield. It wasn't him. And our bottom six is certainly struggling. When you try to throw Lizotte into that third line center spot, trust me, that's not working. He is not built for that. He does not have that skill set. The third line center should be someone who can still carry offense and be, defensively, maybe a little more defensive minded than offense, but still carry offense and be out there with guys who can score. So, third line center is going to be out there with guys like Iafallo and Velarde. They need to be able to keep up. So, Third line center is the biggest thing for me. If I was looking to make a trade this year as Rob Blake, I might look mostly to bring in a veteran third line center. Someone like a Derek Brassard comes to mind, or someone like that who's been around the league, who you know you can put in there and is going to provide some defense, some offense, and just not be a liability out there, and maybe give some of our other guys in the AHL a little more time to be seasoned, mostly Quentin Byfield. So, with the third line center spot open, I know the Kings have been flirting a little bit with the idea of Kempe or Velarde returning. I think that Velarde is only one season removed from playing center, and he played, recently, in his draft. When he got drafted, he was drafted, as a center, and I think that he has the size and the skill and the effort, and the defensive skill for playing center. I know Kempe has played center as well, but he just had a 35-goal season as a winger, so I'd like to see him stay wing, and Velarde can try back at center. I think this is more of this shows the desperation for the Kings to have a third line center more so than really thinking this is a good spot for these guys. I think these guys are best suited on the wing, but if anyone can come back and come into the third line center, we are here for it because we don't have anyone at this point in time. And the other thing too here is what to do with these fringe youngsters. So we saw Bjorn Fott and Fagemo come in. I'd like to not see them go on the road trip. We'll see. But still, guys like Anderson Dolan and maybe Brant Clark gets in this road trip here. Maybe we'll see just other call ups called send people getting sent down. Maybe Kupari gets back up again, but we've got a lot of fringe youngsters right now. We just have to see what's going to happen with them and who's going to get up and who's going to get down. AHL to NHL, is Byfield going to come back soon? So it's a lot of turning points right here for guys who have jobs on the Kings roster, but it's also turning points for guys who are looking to make it. So I've sang praises for guys like Kupari and Jared Anderson Dolan, but we'll just have to see if these guys can stick. And we can't be switching up the lines 20, 30 games from now as we're already really into the season. We have to find out who our guys are and stick with them so we can build chemistry and build an identity with the roster we have. But the one bright spot I did think from this past week was that Kopitar is finally looking like his old self. So, in my opinion, he has been the second best center behind Danault all season long. And this past week, when Danault really struggled, he looked good. So, finally, he's starting to step up. We'll see if he can keep that up, especially as a captain in such a pivotal point in the season where we're really at a crossroads right now. We need to see him pick it up and kind of lead his team by example. So he is the number one key performer this week for the Kings, with 3 goals and an assist, a +4, and 64% faceoff percentage. I think he really did lead the way, not just with points. Fiala had more points than him, but he kind of led the way as far as, hey, we're not going to let Seattle blow us out this bad. We're going to get back in this fight and at least, get a point out of this. Or, hey, we're coming back against Arizona. We're going to win this game. So I'm happy to see that out of him. It's unfortunate that maybe it took this long, but if we see these kind of games out of him for the rest of the season, then we'll really be in a good spot as our first line center. And Fiala continues doing what he does best, man. He is, I guess he was sold to us more as a sniper, at least from what I read. I know he had a lot of goals, but man, the guy can pass. He can control the puck really well. I like his ability to even fight off guys who are so much bigger than him and possess the puck and hold on and wait for a good passing lane to develop. That's really what he brings to us. So putting him with a guy who can snipe and score is going to be essential to getting more production out of whoever plays with him. So putting him on a line with a guy like Kaliyev makes sense to me. I'm not worried about Fiala's ability or Kopitar's ability to make it work. I'm more worried about Kaliyev's ability to put that full game together. We know he can score if he's not really contested on a 5-on-4 power play situation. Can he score, regular 5-on-5? He's got 9 goals this season, and 7 of them are on the power play. So that is pretty bad for 5-on-5 production. Granted, he's not playing with Kopitar and Fiala, but he'll get a shot here, and I'm happy to see it. Let's see how he does with it. So just because these two are performing well, that does not mean that they have chemistry. I don't see great passing between these players. I see great individual efforts from guys who I know can make those plays, but I don't really see Kopitar and Fiala ever really finding themselves and making it work. So to me, I'm not married to Kopitar and Fiala being together on a line. Like I said, I think that Kopitar and Kempe can play well together. Fiala's played well with Kopitar in the past, so Fiala is very good at working with whoever he's on a line with. We saw that when he played with Grunstrom and when he played with Kupari, that he can make those guys look good. So we'll see how this goes, but for now, I guess McClellan is doing a good job of just putting the best performing guys on the top line and giving them the most minutes. Now with our doghouse, we have to start with Quick. 12 goals against, save percentage of .818 is certainly poor and below average. He got pulled in one game. And then against Carolina, I thought that he was a little out of sorts, making too many sprawl-like saves. But, we cannot be a playoff team with him getting numbers like this. And then Danault, a guy who it hurts me so much to put him in the doghouse, as you can make a case for him being in the key performer, I believe, like every past week, all the other past 7 weeks, really this season. I think he has been solid, and he is our rock of a consistent, steady Eddie guy on that second line. But this past week, he was only 1 assist, a -6, 3 penalties, and only 2 shots. So he really was, I guess, one of the biggest kings who struggled, and the reason why we had a poor week this week with the second line really unable to get much going. So I don't expect him to be like this for long. I think that he is a very consistent player. It just so happens that, every once in a while you're going to have these weeks. But I can't talk about him when he does good and then not talk about him when he does bad. So I got to call him out for having a really bad, rough -6 week this past week. So here, preview week number 9. They're going to a three-game Canadian road trip here, and then finishing things up on Sunday in Columbus. And it'll be interesting to see who they bring here. A lot of times if you go on the road trip, you don't really have a lot of substitutions out. You're not going to have Bjornfot in for one game and then out for another game, bring in different guys, because you can only bring so many guys on the trip. You want to bring some guys and then send the other guys back to AHL. So it's possible you may see some guys, join the team on a road trip, but usually you go as one group. So it'll be interesting to see who they bring first. I also would like to see Copley play in at least one of these games. Certainly, I'd like to see Phoenix Copley, the backup goaltender, play in either the Montreal or the Columbus Blue Jacket game, especially as Quick is getting older. I certainly think he'd be fine to play 2 games this road trip, even if if Quick has a poor game in one, start Copley the next one. I'm not worried about that at all. I could go for that. The main thing, as I mentioned before, I think is going to be seeing who plays the third line center. So I'd like it to be Velarde, and maybe Velarde can play with Kempe, and maybe play Velarde with Kempe and Iafallo. That is a very talented, very fast, and really, I guess, underachieving third line. In the NHL, if you have a line of Iafallo and Kempe and Velarde as your third line, your other 2 lines are pretty good. So the Kings, they have depth there, and Iafallo coming back is certainly going to be a huge boost. So he's slated to come back and return for this road trip. I think that we'll see some fireworks on that third line if he gets back with Velarde, and then maybe Kempe can kind of find his game. We may very well see some fireworks. So that's what I'm expecting to see. I'm expecting to see at least Velarde with Iafallo, and to see maybe some good offense come out of that. But I mentioned before how we really missed Lemieux and Iafallo. We're getting one piece back. He's really the heart and soul of this bottom 6. Iafallo is, and getting Lemieux back will certainly bring some size and some sandpaper. I don't know when he's coming back, but I know Iafallo is coming back this week. So a big week coming up where the Kings have a lot of questions that need answered, and certainly the first step in the crossroads here. Are we going to take the path towards mediocrity and not being in the playoffs, or we're going to take the path towards developing chemistry, finding out what we've got in our guys, bringing up players who are going to be with us for the rest of the season, and really, taking strides towards that second or third Pacific Division spot. So be very excited, probably watching this week more closely than any other week we've had in the past, just because of all the implications with a coaching job on the line and, various guys trying to fight for roster spots and different guys in different positions that they haven't been in all season. So a lot to look forward to, a lot of changes coming up, and just another exciting week here in the Kings hockey season that I'm looking forward to. So please continue to follow along all season long as we follow the Kings, and certainly next week I'll be here to break down all 4 of these games. I appreciate you following along, liking and subscribing here on YouTube, as here on Frozen Crown we'll be with you all season long. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the next video.